on the spot. Welcome to Watch Along Wrestling, where we, in this video, are going to be breaking down the WWE Clash of Champions 2019 with a full match card preview, as well as some predictions here as we break down a show that I think could be a sleeper show here. I think that it's something that might be something to get a little excited about. I think that there's a couple of really interesting matches to kind of see how they book this thing moving forward. But if it's your first time joining the channel, make sure you do leave a big thumbs up and subscribe to Watch Along Wrestling. My plan here for how to work Clash of the Champions, I know some of you guys have asked, will I be on the air? The plan is to be on the air, absolutely, at some point today. Jackson Parker, what's going on, buddy? How's it going? I do remember you. Good to see you. Hope all is well with you. Yeah, Kiwi says, rest in peace, Kofi's title reign tonight. I do think there's a great chance that you might be on the right track there. I will try to be on the air tonight, at least for a match or two. That's the plan, at least main events tonight, live streaming with you guys and doing some live reactions there. But let's get right into it here. Clash of Champions 2019. I'm going to break down the matches. I believe that they've only announced one match for the pre-show, that being the Cruiserweight Championship match. Drew Gulak defending the title against Humberto, Carrillo, and Lince Dorado. As I always say, make sure you check out the pre-show. Those guys, the Cruiserweights, always deliver on the pre-show. They just tear down the house and do a really good job with the match that they have. I'm thinking that Jackson Parker is live reacting to Clash of Champions NFL and AAA Wrestling. AAA, they're actually they had a show here right in my backyard of Madison Square Garden that was promoted heavily, at least around the building during the WWE events for both Raw and Smackdown. If you haven't done so, check out my Raw live vlog that I did there. So who do I think is going to win that match? I'm thinking that it looks like Drew Gulak will be taking that match here. I think he keeps the title, though. I think they've really been getting behind Humberto Carrillo, so I think there's a chance for a title change, but these guys always get the crowd going. I think there's always a little bit of like mum around the crowd when they first start off, but they win the crowd over and always have a really, really good match. There you go. Very cool. Yeah, I'm ready for tonight too, Jackson. Absolutely. So next up on the card, let's get into the rest of the matches here. Women's Tag Team Championship match, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, kind of 2019's answer to the Rock and Sock Connection, taking on Mandi Rose and Sonya Deville. I'm not seeing a title change here. I think they really like the duo of Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. I find them also highly entertaining. And I, for one, think that at some point we're going to get to Nikki Cross against Alexa Bliss and kind of split these guys off. But I think it's way too early. So I'm thinking that they keep the belts on Cross and on Bliss tonight. All right, moving right along. Tag Team Championship match. It is going to be the New Day defending the Smackdown Championship against the Revival. This match here, man, it's been so, I feel like it's not really been promoted as heavily as it should be. This could be a match that could really end up being a bit of a sleeper, I feel like. These guys are going to tear down the house. Obviously, Big E, I always get a little nervous from main man E whenever he has these types of matches on pay-per-view. Always does that really devastating kind of shoulder tackle through the ropes and onto the outside. But really, if they're given time, this is a match that I'm excited about. I don't anticipate the Revival winning the titles tonight simply because the Revival are still on Raw. And so if they win the tag titles, I think they're trying to kind of separate the brands out specifically as they do. I did not, unfortunately, watch NJPW this morning. That was the plan, but overslept through it, so it was unfortunate. It was a good show, though. Let me know. I definitely would love to know how that show was. Had New Japan World ready to go, too, so I am disappointed about that. So, in any event, I think that the New Day keep the titles. I think they like the idea of having the guys who are currently on SmackDown have those titles. Revival right now, I believe, are technically on Raw, but they could always move them over. But it is going to be a good match, and it's one that I'm really looking forward to. Kiwi in the live chat says, this may be the most unpredictable pay-per-view of the year. I do feel the New Day tag match will decide the main event. If they lose, Kofi wins because Vince wouldn't want to bury a team as popular as the New Day. That's some really good stuff there from Kiwi, and I could definitely see that as well. So let's get into the next match here on the card. It's going to be United States Championship. This was made at the last minute and was kind of pivoted. So they pivoted away from the King of the Ring final being on this show, added this match, which makes sense. They wanted to have every championship on the line. AJ Styles defending that championship against Cedric Alexander. If these guys are given any length of time, I think that it could legitimately steal the show. These guys are going to just be great. I think that the plan is to build Cedric Alexander up. This guy has been in many main events. He's been featured big into some of the Raw main event scene, and they've ended the show there. So John Scott is actually just jumped in on the live chat as well. John Scott does a great podcast called the Wrestling with Johners podcast. I'm actually going to be on that show later on this week. Tomorrow night, it should be up later on in the week to break down all the Clash of Champions matches. I'll throw a link into the description. What matches do I think will be relegated to kickoff? I think right now the only one that's scheduled to be on the kickoff is the Cruiserweight match. But I do think there's a great chance that, unfortunately, Nakamura and I think Nakamura as well as The Miz could also be there. If that match is on the kickoff, I will come on and I'll do some live stream for that match. I think it could be something to have some fun about it. Jackson, go ahead and throw your podcast out there, buddy. I think that would be cool for you to kind of link in there. As far as the AJ Styles, Cedric Alexander match, as I was saying, Cedric is someone that I think is being promoted to eventually ascend the top of the card. That being said, I don't think it's going to happen right away. I think they're still going to have AJ keep that title. Right now, AJ Styles is he's kind of the number one heel on Raw right now. I don't know what to make of The Fiend. I don't know if he's a bit of a tweener. Seems like he's a heel, but at the same time, people love him and people are going to cheer for him. So at the end of the day, AJ Styles, Cedric Alexander, I think AJ and the new OC retain that championship for AJ Styles. So I expect AJ to keep the belt over Cedric, but a match I'm really looking forward to. The aforementioned Shinsuke Nakamura Intercontinental Championship. He's defending that against The Miz. That's a match I can absolutely see, unfortunately, be kind of put onto the pre-show. It's a strange match. I'm not saying I'm not a fan of The Miz, but it feels like he's not had a very good 2019. His feud with Shane McMahon, he lost time and time again. And it's a match that, at the end of the day, it's just weird to have The Miz here. He's lost all these matches here to Shane McMahon. He really doesn't have any wins under his belt to be getting an Intercontinental title match. And it felt like they were kind of going towards Shinsuke Nakamura and Ali, which is a match that I was really looking forward to. So this feels like a strange match. It definitely feels like something that could be put onto the kickoff show. I think Nakamura retains. Seems like they're getting a little bit more behind him and Sammy together as a unit. And I think the slow build here is to eventually move The Miz and turn him heel. I think that he's much better as a heel as opposed to a babyface. I don't really feel like it's necessarily working anymore with him in that role. Do I think there'll be Pyro on the show? I do not. It would be great if there was. I'm always a fan of Pyro, but I don't think so. It seems like Pyro right now is being held off for some of the bigger shows, the big four, or at least a big three even, with Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam. But I'd love to see Pyro on all the pay-per-views. I think that'd be great. Maybe when they start kind of the pay-per-views following Fox, they debut on Fox. Roman Reigns and Erick Rowan, not a championship match. The only match on the show that isn't a that is a match where no title on the line, but at the end of the day, it's going to be something that is pretty it's pretty cool. And I think a match that honestly they've done a good job, especially on Raw this past week, of building that Roman Reigns match where it's Roman and Erick Rowan. And people are really behind Roman here. It's actually kind of refreshing to see. Roman's a guy who's gotten a lot of heat over the time there and hasn't really been accepted at times as a number one babyface. But seems like they've really got something here with him and Rowan. I think these guys are going to tear down the house. It's, I believe, a no DQ match. And it's a match that I think it could be a lot of fun. It's what I'm looking forward to. I expect that Roman is going to win the match because it's no DQ. But what I'm really interested to see is kind of where this is going. Is this something that's going to reintroduce someone else? I don't think Erick Rowan is the end game of the who attacked Roman Reigns strategy. The storyline, rather. I think that is something where I expect that later on Daniel Bryan gets involved and we get to Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan down the road. Maybe returning Luke Harper. Who knows? But I don't expect Rowan to be the end-all of that storyline. And thus, I do expect Roman Reigns to get the win here tonight. All right, moving right along here, it is going to be Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman defending the Tag Team Championships. And I will just quickly mention how cool this is. In the background here, I have the Washington Nationals and the Atlanta Braves game on, and they have a big commercial here for AEW. What an exciting time for wrestling kind of moving forward and during this period here. So Jackson says, my podcast was on Twitter, but now is on my channel. I haven't done a debut episode on YouTube yet. Twitter, but it's coming to my channel. I'm live reacting to shows on there right now. And he seems to doesn't do much with WWE. He does GTS, which is, I believe, Grimm's Toy Show wrestling, and then AAA and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So keep your eye out for Jackson's channel. That's really cool. Who attacked Roman? I think eventually it'll be revealed that it is Daniel Bryan. I think this is all kind of a swerve, so to speak, to kind of get you to go one direction, and then it does get you back to where you're going. So as for the tag team titles tonight, it's going to be Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins. They're doing double duty tonight. They defend the Raw Tag Team Championship against the team of Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode. How many random partners is Dolph Ziggler going to end up having here? It seems like he has a new type of partner here every couple of months, but good to see Bobby Roode back on pay-per-view and in a big Kiwi with the line there. It's not Daniel Bryan. The car wasn't a Prius. Good stuff. That's a good point too. That is a very good point. Daniel Bryan would absolutely be driving an environmental friendly car. So good stuff. Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins, I feel like they've got to lose the tag titles here. I think that would set up and add some more intrigue to their match. I wouldn't be shocked to see this tag title match open the show because these guys are doing double duty. Braun's a bigger guy, so for him to have to do two matches, I think is something that he's going to need a little break in between the two. So, but this is kind of just something that's out there to kind of build intrigue to the main event, and I expect a title change for Bobby Roode and for Dolph Ziggler, a team that, while not loving the idea of the two of those guys teaming up, at least Bobby Roode is getting a spot again, because I feel like it's been far too long that Roode hasn't really been featured kind of towards the top of the card. Really hasn't been since coming over to the WWE brands. So good to see Roode get a spot here, and I absolutely think it is going to be Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler to win the tag titles. All right, moving right along. Here we go. It is going to be the Women's Championship, a match I'm really looking forward to. I think your two top matches on the show so far, on this show in total, are going to be your Bayley versus Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks. Those are your two matches I'm looking most forward to on the entire show. Bayley versus Charlotte Flair, tough one here. I'm hoping Bayley doesn't lose the title. They just turned her heel. They have a lot of momentum behind her. I hated that she took the pinfall on Monday night. And so I'm hoping Bayley finds a way to retain this retain the title here. I think that it's something that people are getting behind, her and Sasha together. And I really feel like it would be a big mistake to have her drop the title to Charlotte. So I'm going to go with Bayley retaining the SmackDown Women's Championship. Speaking of the world, the SmackDown Championships, let's finish up SmackDown by talking about the World WWE Championship. Kofi Kingston defending the title against Randy Orton. I've been saying for a while that I do not expect Kofi Kingston to be the champion going into SmackDown on Fox. I love it, but I just feel like they're going to try to pivot off that and eventually get the title onto Reigns, or have Roman Reigns in a big match for the world title come the debut of Fox. And I don't think that him versus Kofi Kingston makes a whole lot of sense, especially because the crowd loves Kofi. So I can definitely see something where Randy Orton wins the title tonight, specifically to pivot on to a match between him and Roman for the title on the first episode of SmackDown Live. So that'll be my prediction. I also think there's a small chance, and I'm not going to go full tilt with this, I'll explain why here in a sec, but I think there's a small chance that they continue to extend this somehow with some sort of chicanery, everybody else getting involved. It would be something where with other folks getting involved, maybe the Revival, the New Day, they kind of just separate this whole thing out and end up extending this out to Hell in a Cell. I think they could do that, but my prediction is going to be Randy Orton. Kiwi there in the live chat says, I hate saying this right now, but Kofi being champion going into Fox does not make sense. He's too PG. I think that he can be the champion. I think they need to kind of change the character up a bit, though. I know that the pancakes are a big deal. When the world champion's coming out throwing pancakes in the crowd, you're right. It comes across as very PG. Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins is, in my opinion, not going to close the show. And the reason for that is because I expect a non-finish here. I expect that probably Rollins will win the match, but I expect it to be by DQ because I do think that The Fiend will get involved. And in doing so, I believe that he will cost Braun Strowman the match and directly go after Rollins, setting up Rollins and The Fiend at Hell in a Cell. And what I think then will happen is this allows Braun Strowman to remain protected, and at the same time allows Rollins to keep the belt without necessarily getting a big win over Strowman there. So it keeps both guys strong and moves Rollins right over to a program with The Fiend at Hell in a Cell. So I'm going to go with Rollins, but I'm going to go with him by disqualification or something. I think there's a chance he does. I think he keeps the belt because I think with Rollins versus The Fiend makes more sense for where they're going. But at the end of the day, I think that you very well might get a non-finish or disqualification. All right, so that leaves us to our main event of the evening, a match I do expect to close the show. That being Becky Lynch defending the Raw Women's Championship against Sasha Banks. I think to a man, to anybody, to a fan, any person who's watching this show, I think everybody is going to be excited about this match the most. It's a match they've done a really good job building up and promoting ever since Sasha Banks returned to WWE. I think it's the match that has probably the most amount of intrigue going into this show. And that being said, I do expect a title change here. I think that Sasha Banks wins the Raw Women's Championship to end Clash of Champions. And I wouldn't be surprised, this is a little bit of a grim thought, but I wouldn't be surprised the last thing you see to end Clash of Champions is kind of that Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, WrestleMania 20 moment where you have Bayley and Sasha get in the ring, both belts, big hug, and that is how the show goes off the air. So those are my predictions there. John Scott says, I think Kofi will hold on to the title and Brock will be taking off of him once SmackDown goes to Fox. Now that is very intriguing, and I like that idea quite a bit. You have Kofi keep the belt there, and you promote Brock Lesnar having a match on SmackDown potentially for the first time since his return. I think that will be something to really kind of build up that first show on Fox, and I can definitely see that. That's a good little thought there. I'm hoping, QQE says, I'm hoping The Fiend gives a mask to Rollins after he wins the match, and The Fiend is taken in as the third member of the Shield. Reformation. That's an interesting thought. Not necessarily sure that's where they're going to go, but at the end of the day, that certainly would make things very interesting. I'm wondering if maybe Braun Strowman is kind of intertwined there with The Fiend, and they kind of go back to maybe having Strowman be kind of a partner there with The Fiend, maybe turn Strowman to kind of go back to see the ways of kind of Bray Wyatt there and The Fiend, considering that's where he was when he got his start on the show. So just to kind of go through everything again, I think your pre-show match, Drew Gulak retains the championship over Humberto Carrillo and Lince Dorado, but I'm expecting that match to be really good. I do think that Shinsuke Nakamura will retain the Intercontinental Championship over The Miz, and that match will also be over onto the kickoff show. I think you're getting a tag team title change. Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman losing the titles to Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. I think AJ Styles will retain the United States Championship over Cedric Alexander. I think Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross will retain the Women's Tag Team Championships against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. I expect Roman Reigns to defeat Erick Rowan in a no disqualification match, but I think we're going to figure out more as to what's going on with that story. I think the New Day will retain the Tag Championships against the Revival. I'm expecting a new WWE champion, Randy Orton, to be crowned by defeating Kofi Kingston. I expect Bayley to keep the championship and retain against Charlotte Flair. I expect Seth Rollins to retain the championship against Braun Strowman, but I think that Braun may end up winning that match by DQ due to outside interference from The Fiend to get us set for Hell in a Cell. And last but not least, I expect Sasha Banks to win the Raw Women's Championship on that show. Jackson Parker, Bloodsport is a good show last night. Bloodsport, they do a good program as well. John Scott says, rumors are that Roman and Rowan will close the show tonight. Wow, that's interesting. Did not hear that one. That could be really interesting. I think that could definitely be a situation where they kind of build that up to kind of do a deal where you're going to find out a huge twist of this Who Attacked Roman Reigns storyline. If they have something big, I'm for it. that being said, Clash of Champions feels weird to not have a championship match close the Clash of Champions show. So that is going to do it for me, guys. Make sure you keep it locked right here to Watch Along Wrestling. I will be back at some point tonight for a live stream, live reaction of at least one of the big matches, hopefully a couple of them, and we will take it from there. So in any event, make sure you also check out Wrestling with Johners podcast. I'll be on there with them, and I'll be on with John to break down the show later this week. If that's true, then this entire pay-per-view is falsely named. I agree 100%. If they end the show without a title match, it would really be strange to be called Clash of Champions. And yes, WWE is live right now. I will let you guys go check them out on their channel. I think they have Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler and Sasha Banks and Becky. But this was a lot of fun. I hope this was a little bit of a hype piece for you guys. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for joining in on the live chat. And we'll be back again real soon with you guys on Watch Along Wrestling. I'll catch you guys in the next video.